Welcome to The Roots That Tangle, a slow-burning enemies-to-lovers romance set in a village tangled with memory, pride, and untamed longing. This is a story of power of silence breaking and of hearts that do not yield easily. Chapter 1. The Arrival. Before the sound reached her ears, she felt it in the earth, a slow, deliberate rhythm, hooves pressing into damp soil. Mira Hollow lifted her head from the herb basket, brow tensing as the forest around her went still. No birdsong, no wind. Even the trees seemed to brace themselves. Only one kind of arrival made the land hold its breath. She stepped out from the forest brush, cloak tugging at her legs. Down the sloping path, through the fog, a black carriage rolled into the village, its lanterns flickering like low-held fire, its wheels grinding through the mud like it belonged elsewhere. She didn't blink. She didn't need to. Rowan Thornfield had returned. 4 years. 4 years since he left the village without looking back. 4 years in London chasing titles, cold logic, and ambition. His father had asked him to stay to begin learning how to run the land, to help the people. But Rowan had left instead, coat crisp and eyes colder than frost. Now he came back only because his father was ill and someone needed to take control. Not to belong, not to repair, but to rule. At the bend where forest met stone, Mira crouched behind the hawthorn trees and watched him descend from the carriage. Rowan. He stood tall in a long black coat that caught the wind just so. His jaw was razor-sharp, cheekbones sculpted like carved marble, his mouth firm, unsmiling. His hair dark brown, grown longer since the last time she saw him was tied back at his nape with a simple black ribbon. But it was his eyes that made the breath catch in her throat. Green, deep and burning, like moss over iron, like ivy crawling over something once noble now rusted. Eyes that had seen the world and returned emptier. He scanned the village with cold restraint. Not disgust, but worse, disinterested, like the place that raised him had shrunk too small to matter. He didn't look toward the trees, but Mira knew he saw her. That night, as the wind howled low and rain spat against her windows, Mira was crushing dried rosemary with a stone pestle when she heard it 3 knocks, sharp, and rushed. She froze. The weight of the world dropped back onto her chest. Not a neighbour, not someone sick. Only one place sent knocks that late. She opened the door just a crack enough to see the boy from the manor, rain-matted and breathless. "Miss Mira," he panted. "He says if you don't come, you'll be fined for the land, the taxes, all these years." She stared at him, unmoving. Of course, Rowan didn't come himself. He sent a messenger to her own door, threatening her land. Her fingers curled around the edge of the doorframe. His father had never asked for payment, because she was an orphan, because she healed the village, because she earned her place. But Rowan? Rowan came back not to understand, only to collect. The boy waited, soaked and silent. Mira stepped back, not out of fear, out of rage. She came to the manor like a storm on 2 legs, cloak flung around her, hair wet and braid unravelling, boots slick with mud, her cheeks burned with wind and something far hotter. She didn't knock. She never did. The door opened before she touched it, and there he was, Rowan Thornfield, standing tall and still like a marble statue dressed in shadows. Older, sharper, devastating in the worst way. His face was made of edges, elegant, aristocratic, cold. His green eyes flicked over her like she was a calculation. "Miss Hollow," he said, voice smooth, unreadable. "Lord Thornfield," she returned, not bowing. "You've neglected tax payments for 5 years," he said. She didn't blink. "Your father waived them." "I am not my father," he replied without a second thought. Her mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Number you're not." She brushed past him without permission. Their shoulders met, and neither gave way. The air between them crackled. Something sharp, something unfinished. Inside, the manor was colder than outside. The walls still wore their ivy wounds. The halls smelled like ash and old wood. Myra didn't pause. She knew the way. She had been here once when she was 13, delivering medicine to Rowan's mother. She remembered the colour of the curtains, the way the light hung through stained glass. Rowan's father lay pale and shaking in bed. Myra moved without ceremony. Cool cloths, tinctures, whispered measurements. Her fingers worked with quiet skill. She had done this 100 times for people who could never repay her. Rowan said nothing. He watched from the shadows, arms crossed, expression unreadable. When she turned to leave, he blocked the hall. "You think me cruel," he said. She met his gaze. "I think you're a man who left, and now wants to rule what he abandoned." "You think this place survived without order?" he asked. "I think it survived without you." She backfired. He stepped closer. "And you? You think your herbs make you untouchable?" Her breath didn't flinch. "Number, I think they make me useful. Something you've never been here." His jaw tensed. "Be careful, Myra. You speak like someone who has nothing to lose." Her voice dropped. "Because I don't." She left without waiting for dismissal. The scent of rosemary and crushed elderflower trailed in her wake. Rowan didn't follow, but long after the door closed, he stood alone in the hallway, fists tight. She had spoken to him like no one else dared. And worst of all, he didn't hate it. End of chapter.